Chapter 51 Zixia Magic Quick Method. You are listening at NovelFlow.audio. In the black car, Kingpin looked at the white knight with the lion's mouth wide open, showing no sign of impatience. Now is just the negotiation stage. It is normal practice to ask for high prices and then pay back the money. Before the final result is announced, any talk will be empty. If Bai Ye can really make him confident of getting the position of mayor of New York, so what if he is given 50 million? How sure are you of helping me win the mayor's office? Kingpin asked with a smile. It's very simple. To put it bluntly, the mayor's election depends on the support rate of the people. The candidate with the highest support rate will be directly elected as the mayor of New York. Bai Ye said calmly, and now I have an exercise method in my hand that can make everyone become a Superman. As long as it is published, humans all over the world will go crazy, not to mention the citizens of New York. Are you talking about everyone has the power to practice that you told the media before? Kingpin asked. He thought it was Bai Ye's perfunctory response to the media, but he didn't expect it to be true. Yes, my cultivation method is not complicated. Even an ordinary person can understand it after reading it for a day. The most important thing is that practicing it can replace sleep. In other words, it will not affect your daily efficiency in studying and going to work, and it can also greatly extend human life. Kingpin's eyes became serious. Through Bai Ye's dictation, he knew that if this was true, let alone the mayor of New York, through this amazing achievement, the President of the United States could easily obtain it. Those upper-class people spend tens of billions of dollars every year trying to research ways to make the human body live longer, but they either mutate or have various side effects. Now Bai Ye's side effect-free cultivation method will definitely drive those people crazy. Why did you tell me so easily? Kingpin frowned, just for a mere 50 million. Of course not. As I said before, this money is just to show me your sincerity. Bai Ye said with a relaxed face, first, I'll send you 50 million to prove whether you are qualified, and then we will consider the specific matters of joint development. If you don't agree, I can get off now. If you don't give me the money, there are many people are willing to give. As for why I chose you first, of course it's because you are not a good person. As the underground emperor of the United States, Kingpin controls the criminal business in the United States. The money I want may not be as much as the price of a flower transaction for you. No problem, the money you want will be transferred to your account soon. Since you know me, you should know what the consequences will be if you play tricks on me. Kingpin said, but the next moment Bai Ye put his right hand on Camilla's shoulder and said slowly, as the emperor of the underworld, don't you understand that harsh words must be backed up by strength? After Bai Ye finished speaking, he stomped his right foot down, and the sole of his foot penetrated the car in an instant and stepped on the ground. In the horrified eyes of the driver in front, Bai Ye's soles filled with vitality rubbed crazily on the ground. On the road, the car that was originally speeding was forced to a stop by Bai Ye's huge force in a few seconds. After gently patting Kingpin on the shoulder, Bai Ye stood up on the ground and said disappointedly, it seems that you don't have the courage to cooperate with me. I don't think you need to eat the meal later. You don't deserve it. After saying that, Bai Ye supported Camilla, who was also a little frightened beside him. Let's go home. Wait a minute. Looking at the two people standing up, Kingpin suddenly shouted, his expression becoming gentle again. Mr. Bai may not quite understand what I just said. As the underworld emperor of New York, how can a mere 50 million show my personal strength? 200 million, I will transfer 200 million into your account tonight. No matter what the result is, how about just making friends? I hope Mr. Bai will not care about the offense I just made. Oh. Bai Ye glanced at Kingpin in surprise. He was such a flexible guy. Okay, since you are so sensible, I am embarrassed to refuse, but as the future mayor of New York City, I can't be as rude as before. Bai Ye retracted his right leg from the ground, sat back on his seat and said, let's drive, I should be able to have a good supper tonight. What are you still doing? Mr. Bai said to drive. Kingpin urged the driver with a serious face. The shocked master driver then turned on the accelerator again. Let's get back to what we were talking about just now. Bai Ye took out his mobile phone from his pocket and opened the photo album and said, "This is the secret book of the cultivation method," I said. I took it with the camera of my mobile phone. You can practice it first and try the effect to prove that what I said is not false. Seeing the so-called secret book that could drive all mankind crazy, displayed so casually in front of him in a modern way, Kingpin still felt a little unreliable. This made him ask, "Mr. Bai, how far can your cultivation method reach? To what extent?" Bai Ye thought for a while, then he flexed his right index finger and waved it gently. The vigorous internal energy roughly turned from the meridians at the fingertips into a sharp sword energy, tilting crazily like a high-pressure water gun. Laugh, that with a soft sound of steel being separated, the upper part of the originally enclosed car began to tilt, and then amidst the howling wind, the roof of the car was blown away by the strong wind. The cold night air poured in, making the driver shiver. The originally sealed car turned into an open-top one with Bai Ye's wave. "Is this the ability that you have cultivated?" Kingpin observed the smooth cutting marks on the edges, and did not feel distressed at all that the car was damaged. Then Kingpin looked at the text on Bai Ye's mobile phone album, with a hint of fire in his eyes, and began to study seriously. Soon, Kingpin, who had read the entire book in the car, fell into doubt and turned to Bai Ye and asked, "Mr. Bai, didn't you say in your Zixia magic skill that the speed of internal strength cultivation is too slow? If you want to reach your level, you won't be able to do it in less than 10 years. To open up your mind, have you ever considered teaching your skills?" Bai Ye asked. Teaching the skill. Kingpin immediately recalled this part of Zixia's magical skill. On average, an ordinary person can cultivate a trace of qi in one night. Wouldn't you spend money to buy his qi and let him teach you the qi? Bai Ye said, based on the calculation that his labor success for one night is $100, his internal energy is only $36,000 in 1 year, $360,000 in 10 years, and $3.65 million in 100 years. Even if there is a 20% loss, for you, for $3.65 million, you can instantly have the 80-year-old energy of an ordinary person and become a little Superman in one night. Isn't it worth the money? Isn't this more expensive than your car? Bai Ye said. Chapter 52 Internal Force is Flowing Gold. You are listening at NovelFlow.audio. Using money to buy inner strength? After hearing Bai Ye's description of the future, Kingpin's breathing quickened a bit, feeling that something was wrong. Through Bai Ye's description, he discovered the greatest value of Zixia magic art, which is that the more people practice it, the inner power can flow around the world almost like money, assuming that there is no upper limit for the storage of internal energy. 6 billion people around the world practice Zixia magic gong, which can generate an average of 16 million years of internal energy every day. Moreover, because of the characteristics of the transfer of energy, internal energy can be traded at will like money. If each transaction will consume 20%, it will only ensure that the internal energy will be used less and less, and every transfer of power will be taxed equally, and scarcity will always be maintained. In addition, no one can live forever, but there are always people who pursue longevity. As long as the internal energy is sufficient, one can avoid all diseases and prolong life. For humans, internal energy is almost as hard currency as gold. In the case of strong demand and scarcity, the hard-earned internal strength will not depreciate over time. This is simply 100 times more profitable than selling oil. Kingpin even expected that with the portability and scarcity of internal power in the future, those secret gang transactions could even be exchanged directly on the spot through internal power, so that a large amount of internal power could be brought back without anyone noticing. Change it to cash. Looking at the wealth on his mobile phone, Kingpin began to worry about whether he could catch it. You must know that this is a secret that everyone can practice, whether they are mutants or vampires. Hey, you must be scared, right? Bai Ye saw Kingpin's hesitation at this moment and laughed. It's a little bit, but with such a big opportunity right in front of me, if I don't take a bite and back away, I won't be able to sleep for the rest of my life. Kingpin shook his head, his eyes became firm again and said, now I don't even care about the mayor of New York. With this secret book, the mayor's position is almost within my grasp. Bai Ye said with satisfaction, very good, then we can try selling classes. Kingpin was confused, by a course. Of course, the Zixia magic skill I'm showing you is the normal version. I actually have a weakened version and an upgraded version in my hand, Bai Ye said. What's the difference between these three versions? Kingpin asked. Bai Ye explained, of course there is a difference. The meridians through which the internal force flows in the weakened version have been reduced, and the developed internal force is more than half inferior to the original version in terms of purity and power. However, the upgraded version can be forcibly absorbed directly through physical contact. The Zixia qi in other people's bodies. During Bai Ye's practice, although the total practice time of Zixia divine art did not exceed 100 hours, but with the spirit that is dozens of times higher than that of ordinary people, and the continuous use of internal power to destroy the meridians, he can also make some simple modifications to Zixia's magical power. Needless to say, the weakened version. The upgraded version looks similar to the description of Baiming divine technique and star-absorbing technique, but in fact it is much weaker in terms of universality and does not have the function of transforming true energy. In other words, the upgraded version of Zixia divine art can only absorb the same internal energy of Zixia divine art. If it absorbs other internal energy, it will cause the alien energy to be unable to be transformed and accumulate in the body, which is similar to the result of Ling Hu Chong in Xiaoao. But fortunately, in this world, the only Jin Yong-style martial arts in his hand is this one. Unless someone comes up with something new, he can absorb it as much as he wants. As for changing the exercises, it is possible but not recommended, because as more and more people learn Zixia magic kung fu in the future, the cost of changing to other techniques will also become higher and higher. As long as you have money in the Zixia magic skill, you can buy qi from other people's dantian, but practicing other modified versions of qi has to be practiced bit by bit, which is inferior to others in terms of efficiency. Forcibly absorbing Zixia's true energy from other people's bodies. Hearing Bai Ye say this, Jinbin took a breath and looked at Bai Ye in shock. The upgraded version actually had such a heaven-defying effect. Bai Ye smiled and said, at that time, the weakened version will be published as my autobiography, and then the regular version will be sold in pre-sale mode. But the confidentiality of books is too poor. Even if the pre-sale mode is enabled, the income obtained is not very optimistic. Jin Bing said. It doesn't matter whether it's money or not, I'm not interested in money. As long as the books are sold, there will definitely be a wave of Qigong craze around the world. As long as the founder of Qigong's brand name is put out, won't all the money come in a steady stream? Bai Ye said with a smile. Hearing the pie that Bai Ye drew, Jin Bin's breathing gradually became faster, and he felt that coming to see Bai Ye today might be the best decision in his life. Okay, I will fully cooperate with you. When will this book of exercises be published? I will first give a warm-up to various media. Jin Bing said. In a month's time, I'll leave all the publicity and other matters to you. I'm too lazy to get involved, Bai Ye said. Mr. Bai trusts me so much. Jin Bing asked. Trust you? No, I only trust my own fists. Bai Ye gently clenched his fist and said, tomorrow morning I need you to immediately transfer a team of experts to me and listen to my orders. Kingpin nodded and said, what kind of expert team do you want? It is mainly a mechanical and electrical team that can modify and debug large machinery. I will ask for it if I need it in the future. At the same time, you will provide me with any equipment I need. No problem, just a few application-oriented talents. I have several under my command, and they will be assigned to you directly tomorrow. Jin Bing said boldly. Compared with the value Bai Ye can bring to him, these are not worth mentioning. If Bai Ye opens his mouth again now to see his sincerity, he can even give him half of his wealth after hesitation. But what do you want these people for? Kingpin asked. Lien Quan. Bai Ye said slowly. Lien Block. Kingpin looked surprised. Only Bai Ye himself knew that in just half a month since he had the panel, his strength had increased hundreds of times, and according to this rate of improvement, within the next month of the release of Zixia magic, he should be able to increase his physical strength by another 20 times, easily increasing it to the level of 400 tons without any problem. Then the period from when the book aroused public opinion to attracting the attention of all parties should be enough room for him to increase his strength and negotiate head-on with the human government. Feeling the slight coolness brought by the evening breeze on the convertible, Bai Ye turned his head calmly and said, "Kingpin, please send me back." "Send it back. Mr. Bai won't go to my place to eat anymore?" Kingpin asked hurriedly, thinking that Bai Ye refused to cooperate with him for some unknown reason. "No, we have already finished talking about what we need to do in the car. There are a lot of things to do tonight. I am already tired. Please send me to the mains club." "Is that so? Let's take Mr. Bai back first." Jin Xiang ordered the driver and said at the same time, "Everything you need will be delivered to the playground near your home tomorrow morning, and I will buy that field for you to practice on." "Well, that's troublesome," Bai Ye said casually. Chapter 53 Kingpin's Attempt. You are listening at NovelFlow.audio. At night, Bai Ye got off Kingpin's convertible and looked at the door of the mains fitness club, already looking forward to tomorrow. Thinking expectantly, Bai Ye and Camilla slowly walked up to the door of the club. With a soft sound as the door closed, Bai Ye's right hand rested on Camilla's shoulder. "What are you going to do?" Beside her, Camilla thought of something and put her right hand on her left wrist unnaturally. "You didn't take the opportunity to escape today. I'm very satisfied with your performance," Bai Ye said, pressing Camilla against the wall, gently lifting the other person's chin, his eyes always calm, and said, "So I hope you can make me more satisfied in the future." "You." Camilla pressed her right hand on Bai Ye's solid chest and struggled gently, but with her extraordinary physical fitness, the strength she used at this moment could not even push an ordinary person away. "You can refuse, just like last night, the choice is yours." Bai Ye grabbed her lotus-white right arm and asked. After the words fell, Camilla's original struggling movements gradually disappeared. Bai Ye, who understood deeply, chuckled lightly, picked up Camilla by the waist, and walked towards Camilla's floor. "Wait. I have something to ask you," Camilla suddenly said halfway through. "Huh? What can't be said later?" Bai Ye asked doubtfully. "That's it." Camilla's face suddenly turned red, and she buried her head in Bai Ye's chest and asked, "Can I suck your blood while we're in the middle of the meeting?" Bai Ye, isn't this play a bit too perverted? Is it okay? Camilla, who originally had the temperament of a royal sister, suddenly asked pitifully. The contrast between temperament and tone was extremely tempting, but what awaited her was Bai Ye's calm rejection. "I refuse, the risk is too great. I don't want to accidentally become a vampire." After the words fell, in Camilla's disappointed eyes, Bai Ye flicked his fingers with his right hand, and with his inner strength, he turned off the switch in the room. It was already dead of night, but for Bai Ye and Camilla, as the lights went out, the night had just begun. Outside the house, after Kingpin sent Bai Ye back to the club, he immediately asked the driver to drive the convertible back to his villa. On the way, he took out his mobile phone and made many calls, telling all the requirements he had made before. The requirements must be completed before 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. After returning to his residence, there were already standing in front of him the Tombstone, Bullseye, Scorpion, and several third-level mutants hired with money. These are the core backbone of his men. "Boss, what did you ask us to do?" Tombstone asked first. "I have a book of Qigong here that I bought from others. After you read it familiarly, try to practice it. It will be of great benefit to your strength. The first person to develop internal strength will be rewarded with 500,000 yuan. Kingpin said, and then took out the secret technique book he had just copied from Bai Ye's phone. "Qigong?" Several of the subordinates looked at each other. Do they really have such a thing? Although they were confused, they did not show it, but immediately agreed, took the copy of Zixia magic art from Kingpin, and studied it in front of the light late at night. Watching them learn, Kingpin had no expression on his face. After all, as a boss, he naturally couldn't put himself in danger. If there are good things, he should let his subordinates taste them first. but the more the people at Tombstone looked at it, the more they felt that this thing was mysterious. If the meridians, dantian, etc. really existed, they should have been studied long ago. Why are they just discovering it now? This is unscientific. Although I don't believe it, I have to do what the boss asks of me, so I just treat it as paid money to fool the boss. As the elites of Kingpin, these few people naturally have good memories. 2 hours later, as the first person who had read the content well appeared, the following people also began to practice one after another. Amidst the doubtful thoughts in their hearts, 30 minutes passed slowly. A bald mutant felt the inexplicable air flow in his body. He was shocked that the thing given by the boss was actually real. Soon, after gathering his mind and slowly transporting his internal energy to his dantian, the mutant immediately stood up and said proudly, "Boss, I've done it. Now a trace of internal energy has successfully appeared in my dantian." "Oh, very good." Kingpin's eyes lit up as he was sitting on the sofa waiting. It had only been 30 minutes. This talent was quite good, but the tombstone on the side stood up directly, looked at the bald mutant and said in shock, "You have really developed your internal strength. What did I lie to you for?" The bald mutant nodded and said, "The secret book given by the boss can really develop internal strength." After saying this, several people, including Tombstone, couldn't help but regret. In fact, they had not prepared to practice at all just now, but were all in a daze to deal with errands. Unexpectedly, they actually achieved results for this stupid young man, and got $500,000 in vain. Soon, inspired by the first winner, the others also became serious. In a total of 4 hours, everyone successfully developed a trace of internal strength. Moreover, Kingpin also discovered that compared to human masters like Bullseye, mutants seemed to be more talented. They could develop a trace of internal strength in an average of 40 minutes, which may be due to some physical advantage. Seeing that everyone had developed their internal strength, Kingpin raised the corner of his mouth and said, "You all did a great job, Tombstone, now pass on the internal strength in your body to Is." "Ah. Boss, why? I have only developed 2 strands of internal strength in total, and EC has 5 strands." Tombstone said with a look of reluctance, "And the EC mentioned by the Tombstone is the mutant who first developed the first trace of internal strength." Kingpin smiled slightly and told several people about Bai Ye's internal force flow theory, and soon everyone at the scene became excited. If it is really possible, then as long as you have money, who would bother cultivating their internal strength? Each of them has hundreds or even thousands of subordinates, and they can practice it themselves, and they can harvest it regularly every month. Even if they spend money to buy it, there is no problem. Tombstone, who understood this, soon lost his reluctance, and immediately urged Yislai, "Sit down quickly, I will pass on my inner strength to you, don't be stunned." Soon, according to the steps of transferring the power, Tombstone transferred all the 2 strands of internal energy in his body to EC, and then asked expectantly, "How is it? Is it useful? You should have 1.6 strands of internal energy now." "It is indeed useful, but the internal energy I transformed into the dantian is only a weak trace." ISS frowned and said, "It seems that the smallest unit of internal force is silk. If it is smaller, it will not be retained in the tendons and will be lost." Chapter 54. Bring it up quickly. You are listening at NovelFlow.audio. Kingpin didn't care about the smallest unit of internal force that is said, it doesn't matter. It's enough to prove that internal force can be transmitted in different people. "Boss, what are we going to do next?" Bullseye asked, "Are we going to give the skills to our subordinates for practice?" "No need for now," Bai Ye said, "not to leak the news within a month, just publicize this to the outside world as his training method." Kingpin said, "Of course he knows what kind of gangsters he has, and the day after he shows them the practice method, I'm afraid the whole world won't be able to practice the Zixia magic skill." "Bai Ye? Are you the one who gave the boss the training method? And boss, are you going to announce such a good skill?" Several people asked. "That's right, he's the one who killed all the vampires in New York tonight." Kingpin lowered his eyes slightly and said, "What if we don't announce it? If you want to maximize the benefits, the more people who practice the exercises, the better. And there is no strict confidentiality method for things like knowledge. The whole world will know in the end. Why don't we take the initiative to send it out and trade our good reputation for the position of mayor? And Jean Bing thought of Bai Ye's no-holds-barred character, and he would definitely not spread the skills freely, so Bai Ye definitely had more secrets than this. If he was interested in it, he would not be able to hide it. Well, you go to Africa first, spend tens of millions and the warlords there ask for 100,000 people to come over. Kingpin said, he could already predict that with the spread of this technique, the price of people in Africa would become more and more expensive in the future. It was basically impossible to buy it at such a low price as now, so he quickly made a profit now. After hearing what the boss said, several of his subordinates immediately understood and nodded in agreement, while Jean Bin and others were discussing Zixia's magical power. A video about Bai Ye's battle with a vampire had gone viral on the internet. Thanks to the creation of the media, Bai Ye directly became the hero who defeated the evil mutants. Especially the fight scenes where the opponent's fists were as strong as cannonballs were much more exciting than the movies, although I knew about mutants in the past. Due to the official propaganda, I didn't know how much destructive power they could cause. I just had the impression that they were a group of terrifying freaks with superpowers. The destructive performance of humanoid firearms like Bai Ye made many netizens realize for the first time that human force can reach this level, especially the movement speed of 100 meters per second, which is so fast that ordinary people's naked eyes cannot keep up, so that they have to lower the magnification of the video to watch, but even at a speed of 0.1 times, it still dazzles ordinary people. At slow speed, the slow movements of the vampires were in sharp contrast to the White Knight, and after some people recognized Bai Ye as the hero who saved the bank 10 days ago, this positive public opinion was maximized. Of course, that doesn't matter for tonight's White Knight. Description column: you performed a piston movement for a total duration of 3 hours, 54 minutes and 47 seconds, and lost 0.03% of your total body mass, lasts 21347 times, strength increased by 0.1. Lasts 11548 times. Physical constitution increases by 0.1. Lasts for 3421 times, and the spirit increases by 0.1. Jingle bell. In the early morning, Bai Ye was awakened by the sound of music. He reached out his right hand from the bed and quickly connected the phone and put it to his ear. Is this Mr. Bai? We were called by Mr. Fix to cooperate with you. We are here at the Aiken Stadium. Do you have time to come over now? A humble voice came over the phone. Bai Ye knew it was the expert team he asked Jean Bin for last night. He gently rubbed his eyes, yawned and said, I know, just wait for me over there for 3 minutes. I will be there. Going to exercise? Camilla asked softly. At this moment, after a night of hard work, even her vampire body was numb all over, but the whole process was comfortable and made her look forward to whether she would continue tonight. Well, I'm going out first. I saved 3 liters of blood bags in the refrigerator last night. I'll drink some when I'm hungry. After the words fell, Bai Ye hung up the phone. His whole body turned into an afterimage and came out of the bed. After simply putting his clothes on, he turned into an afterimage and disappeared into the room. On the road, Bai Ye ran towards the square lightly, releasing internal energy from his body with every step he took, trying to calm down the impact of his sprint, but even if they tried their best to restrain their strength, pedestrians on the road could hear the continuous dull drumming sound. When they tried to find the source of the sound, Bai Ye had long disappeared. After 2.5 minutes of running, Bai arrived at Aiken Stadium, where a team in work clothes was already waiting. Slowly reducing the speed, Bai Ye walked out of the corner. At this moment, the team members were waiting on the playground. When they turned around, they saw a man with shoulder-length hair striding toward them and asked, Are you the team that Fix called on the phone? Yes, Mr. Bai, just call me Yake. Boss Fix said that we will do our best to meet your requirements. Yake said humbly, I don't know what you need, Mr. Bai. My request is very simple. I only need you to make some modifications to the stamping machine and change the stamping shape to. Bai Ye calmly put forward his request to several people. Jean Bing's team and the equipment requirements. It can definitely be improved further. after telling the team his conditions, Bai Ye left the sports field and let those people perform on their own. He only needed to monitor the progress occasionally. He will next go to the factory rented by Smith. In the factory, a simple stamping equipment customized for him has been placed. This equipment was completely remodeled yesterday, so Bai Ye had never seen it before. However, according to Smith, because of the fear of problems with the modified equipment, the stamping force is not large, only about 200 tons, which is just enough for the transition during this period. As for Peter Parker, he was fired yesterday after successfully manufacturing the equipment. In Peter's own words, he went to explore the path of a superhero. Is this the equipment you asked someone to modify? In the factory, Bai Ye looked at the stamping machine made of steel in front of him. Smith explained, yes, boss, after this machine fixes the lower body, it will continuously hit your back from all directions at a frequency of 20 times per second. At the same time, the fixed lower body will be evenly compressed by huge force, and the free arms can be used for strength training. Wires can be connected to the gap at the waist, and strong current will be introduced into your whole body the moment the machine is turned on. As long as the equipment is not damaged, there will be no need to rest like the human body, and you can continue to exercise continuously. While Smith was explaining, Bai Ye had already stepped onto the giant machine. After simply fixing his body, he said to Smith, hurry up and start, I can't wait to taste it. Chapter 55 Chat Group Upgrade. You are listening at NovelFlow.audio. Following Bai Ye's order, Smith immediately pressed the switch of the machine, and the entire machine started up the next moment. Thousands of volts of strong current flowed into Bai Ye's body along the wires, causing his cells to continue to die. Then the stamping machine behind him used 5 tons of powerful force to hit Bai Ye's back evenly at a frequency of 20 times per second, causing slight redness and swelling on the skin. On Bai Ye's legs, the fixation device shrank inward, constantly squeezing Bai Ye's leg skin. Bai Ye, who was tied to the machine, endured the collapse of his body while using both hands to lift the 18-ton load-bearing equipment and began to exercise. Now he no longer has to exercise different parts of his body. He is no longer tired after his physique reaches 2.8. In addition, as long as he exercises one area of his physique, the intensity of other areas will also increase. Now, not to mention his arms, even his penis can lift a 2-ton object without falling when it is filled with blood. In ancient times, Lao Ai pushed the second child against the wheel, but now Bai's wooden wheel, let alone the wooden wheel, can be used directly as a car support rod. The humanoid pile driver is well deserved. Dong 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 dong, that the sound of continuous beatings echoed throughout the factory. Bai Ye looked at the efficiency displayed on the instruction column and was very satisfied, thinking that now he could finally concentrate on training. Smith, who was operating the machine on the side, said at this moment, Bai, there is something I want to tell you. Huh? What's the matter? Bai Ye asked while exercising. Didn't I say before that the boss wants to meet you? After you appeared on TV yesterday, he told me about this again and wanted to meet you and have dinner with you. Smith said. Oh, no problem. Bai Ye said nonchalantly, Smith, why don't you do something with me? Huh? Smith was stunned for a moment. You can work with me from now on. I trust your character. I will pay you $20,000 a month and more in the future. How about that? Bai Ye asked. Jean Bing's $200 million had arrived last night, and now he can be considered a billionaire. $20,000. Smith hesitated for a moment and then nodded heavily. Okay, no problem, but my boss has already signed an agreement. It may take some time. It doesn't matter, he will terminate the contract with you tonight. Bai Ye said. He planned to call Kingpin tonight and ask him to bring the owner of the club to join him. After all, the partner Zixia Shingon wanted to partner with before was the club owner whom he had never met before. In the end, he changed partners directly because Jean Bin was more suitable. However, after using his club for such a long time, he still had to show some respect. Although Bai Ye's character has no taboos, people who have helped him will still be given some benefits if conditions permit. There is no other reason for doing this, just because it feels good to repay, and he doesn't want to owe a favor. And while Bai Ye was exercising, in another dimension, The omniscient and omnipotent immortal was already sweating profusely. Level 2, Level 2. The omniscient and omnipotent immortal looked at the title with the ID of dark blue in the communication group. There was a light blue 2-character logo in front of it. It was simply unbelievable. Just now he checked the level of each group member on a whim, and surprisingly found that his title in dark blue had been raised from 1 to 2. How is this possible? Even half a month has not passed, and with a copy of the Zixia magic art, it is impossible for that guy to directly improve so much even if he is a peerless genius that is rare to see in a century. The omniscient and omnipotent immortal thought in his heart. After eliminating all impossibilities, he could only make an inference, that is, the world where the group member named Deep Blue lived was definitely an extraordinary world. At the same time, that fellow had a lot of adventures in that world. Coupled with his own talents, he was able to increase his strength at least 20 times in 12 days. His name is Shenlong. Doesn't he have a system to add points? Is he the holy beast of the road? The omniscient and omnipotent immortal thought, and already vaguely regretted that he had banned the words too quickly, but now it's too late to regret it. Not only will it not help the situation, but it will also make you look like a clown. No, we must upgrade the chat group. We must get away to the world before this guy reaches level 4. The omniscient and omnipotent immortal thought in his mind, but what he doesn't know at this moment is that fortunately he can't go to Bai Ye's world, otherwise, the moment he came to Byakuya's universe with murderous intentions, Ancient One, who paid close attention to Byakuya, would use the time stone to observe the future, and then open the box on the spot through his teleportation ability. The omniscient and omnipotent immortal looked at the upgrade button in the group chat interface and clicked OK without hesitation. At the next moment, a cold mechanical voice sounded in the minds of everyone in the chat group: upgrade the chat group to level 2 and expand the group number to 20. In Hong Kong, Master Luo looked at Ip Man, who was slowly walking up to the round table, gently blew the tea leaves and said, "Just walk up like this, it won't drip much." As soon as he finished speaking, he heard the chat group notification sound in his head. He opened the chat group for a moment and found that the chat group level had reached level 2, and the maximum number of people in the chat group had reached 20. The chat group that had been gradually quiet recently was attracted by the improvement in the level of the chat group in their minds. Kana Kimijima, the group level has been upgraded to level 2. Can we have a few more group members? We have been chatting these past few days, hoping to make it more lively. Omniscient and almighty immortal, the recruitment of group members is not under my control, but is a spontaneous function of the communication group, and I cannot interfere. Looking at Kimijima Kana's comments, the omniscient and omnipotent immortal didn't want to pay attention to it at all. With a limited number of group members, randomly bringing in some interesting things is obviously not good for the improvement of the group. As an administrator, he sees a lot of group membership lists every day, but he doesn't add 3 of the group members. People who don't know the plot won't join, people with low levels won't join, and people with a low world limit won't join. Without knowing it at first, he let people from the low-level world like Master Luo come in to occupy the card slots in the group. He still regrets it to this day. Junzi Sword, have you noticed that the level of Deep Blue's group members has reached level 2? Seeing Jun Zijian's comment, the omniscient and omnipotent immortal felt upset. Now he just doesn't want to see anyone mention Deep Blue, and he gets upset when he mentions it. After Bai Ye heard that the group chat had been upgraded, he was stunned for a moment and stopped paying attention, and continued to enter the training state. During the exercise, Bai Ye also set his sights on the title of Crimson in the group. There was a bright red level 4 in front of the title. He had previously guessed that Crimson was the administrator's trumpet. According to this guess, he could formally consider revenge against the administrator after his strength reached level 4. Chapter 56 Professor X's Request. You are listening at NovelFlow.audio. Bai Ye didn't have any clue about revenge against the omniscient and omnipotent Lord. After all, as long as group members allow it, they can meet each other in each other's world through the chat group. When his strength reaches level 4, he can go directly to the other party's open channel to go offline. I hope that fellow villager will give me the opportunity to repay him personally. Bai Ye thought in her mind while exercising. While Bai Ye was exercising, Peter Parker, who had just made his own spider suit and was ready to act as a street hero, fell into a long silence as he watched Bai Ye killing everyone in the video. Obviously, he only formally submitted his resignation to Bai Ye yesterday, but that night he caused such a big thing at the speed of light. Seeing the whole class discussing Bai Ye's matter, Peter couldn't help but secretly envy him. When would his name be so famous? Peter, come to your senses. At this moment, a voice sounded from Parker's ear. He looked sideways and saw James holding something in his hand and handing it to him. What is this? Parker subconsciously took what was in James' hand. It was a beautifully made work card with Osborne Industries written on it. You performed well in your last internship and could answer many questions, so you were selected as an intern at Osborne Industrial. From now on, you will report there every Saturday and Sunday. This is your internship ID card. When the time comes, you can get in by relying on it, James said with a smile. Chosen by Osborne? Peter Parker looked at the identity tag in his hand in surprise. Since becoming Spider-Man, good things have happened one after another. However, he soon became worried, because he had promised to become a superhero who helped his neighbors, but his time in school was already very tight, not to mention that he now had to go to Osborne for an internship on Saturdays and Sundays. Thinking of this, he envied Bai Ye even more. He was still a high school student, but now he didn't even have to go to school with the school's permission. But when Chow Chow arrived, the next moment James said, Peter, you and Bai Ye usually have a good relationship, right? Do you know where he lives now? Yes, does the teacher have anything to ask him about? Peter looked at James doubtfully. James hesitated for a moment, then told the story. He hasn't been to school for more than 10 days. Of course, I know that as a superhero, he will be very busy in life, so it doesn't matter if he doesn't come. But during today's meeting, the principal wanted him to go back to school and give a speech to the students of the school as an outstanding alumnus. Huh? Peter was stunned when he heard this. It's been less than a month, but Bai has become an outstanding alumnus before he even graduated, and he's even invited back to school by the principal to give a speech. Please help me tell Bai Ye about this matter. His mobile phone is turned off now, and I can't contact him, teacher. James asked. Peter nodded in embarrassment. Okay. I'll ask Bai's opinion after school, and I'll give you the answer tomorrow. Seeing how James was relieved, Peter sighed silently, guessing that Bai Ye would not agree. After all, he had watched Bai Ye exercise in the past 10 days or so, and watched Bai Ye's physical fitness increase 4 or 5 times during this period. According to Bai Ye's current fitness-obsessed personality, he should feel that going back to school to give a speech is a waste of time, and refuse directly. No matter what, I'll ask for the teacher. Peter Parker thought to himself. I waited silently for school to end, and immediately walked out of the school towards the mains club. As a result, I only saw Camilla in the private gym, sipping red wine. Camilla, where is Bai Ye now? I have something to see him for. Peter Parker asked, secretly wondering that given Bai Ye's character as a martial arts fanatic, theoretically he wouldn't stray too far from the fitness equipment. Are you looking for Bai Ye? He should be practicing in the factory on 5th Avenue now. We will move out in a few days. Moving out? Where to move? In the villa on Broadway Avenue. Camilla waved her hand and motioned for him to get out quickly. Following the address given by Camilla, Peter came to the door of the factory where Bai Ye trained, but before the door was opened, there was a bang sound, and 2 figures instantly smashed through the glass and flew out of the factory. After rolling on the ground twice, they lay on the ground in embarrassment and fell into a coma. What's happening here? The confused Peter Parker kindly stepped forward to check, and found that one of the ejected men was the street hero Punisher who came to the club last time to ask for Bai Ye's help. At this moment, the 2 men fell to the ground limply, with all their limbs broken to varying degrees. After Peter dragged the 2 of them aside and called an ambulance, he walked into the factory confused, only to see heavy beating sounds coming continuously inside, while Bai Ye continued to exercise on a humanoid machine. Bai, those 2 people outside are? Peter asked curiously. They're just 2 nosy superheroes. Bai Ye said calmly. 3 minutes ago, the Punisher and Daredevil, after seeing Kingpin's propaganda against Bai Ye, came directly to accuse him. They say they shouldn't cooperate with criminals like Kingpin. It's better to join forces with them and kill Kingpin's lair together to eliminate all evil. Bai Ye, who was too lazy to pay attention to them, told them to get out of their own way. As a result, the two people refused to leave and even kept talking. Bai Ye, who was so annoyed by them, immediately broke their limbs and ensured that they couldn't leave the hospital within half a month before throwing them out of the factory. Looking at Peter Parker, Bai Ye asked, "If you don't become your Spider-Man, how come you have time to come here to find me?" "That's it. Teacher James asked me to come to you and ask if you would like to go back to school." "Go back to school? What to do?" Bai Ye asked. "Didn't he promise to give himself a month's leave before?" "I heard from Teacher James that the principal wants you to go back to school and be an outstanding alumni speaker." Peter Parker recounted. Outstanding alumni speech. Bai Ye was stunned for a moment, and then refused without hesitation. "You can refuse it to the teacher for me. You can make up any reason you want." "I knew it." Peter Parker nodded. After completing his task, he stopped staying any longer. He watched Bai Ye exercise curiously for a while and then left directly. What Bai Ye didn't expect at this moment was that although he had just rejected the invitation from the principal of Zhongqing High School, another principal's voice sounded in his mind. "Hello, kid, let me introduce myself first." A week later, Bai Ye, who was exercising, suddenly heard an old but gentle voice in his mind. "My name is Charles Francis Xavier, and I want to ask you to do me a favor." Chapter 57 X-Men 1. You are listening at NovelFlow.audio. Charles Francis Xavier. The moment he heard the voice in his head, Bai Ye became alert and looked to his side. Not far away, Smith, who was originally controlling the machine, was looking at him with a calm gaze and a smile. He was definitely possessed by Professor X. "Sorry, in order to talk to you, I may need to borrow your friend's body for a while," Smith said apologetically. "Professor X?" Bai Ye asked tentatively. As soon as the words fell, Smith's face immediately showed a surprised expression. "Do you know me?" "I have an impression. Your telepathy and mental control abilities are so terrifying. It's hard to forget." Bai Ye said, gently put down the weight in his hand, and then pressed the emergency stop button of the machine. With a squeak sound, the entire equipment immediately stopped operating, and Bai Ye's restrained body was released. Feeling that his body became extremely light, Bai Ye slowly got off the device, stared at Smith, and asked, "You haven't peeked into my brain, have you?" "Of course not. Professor, I won't pry randomly, which means I can pry seriously." Bai Ye complained in his heart, but he believed that Professor X did not invade his consciousness. After all, there are too many things hidden in his brain. If Professor X saw it, he would never be so calm. It may even be the same as the plot of Deadpool massacring the Marvel Universe. Knowing that he is a so-called Marvel comic character, he goes crazy. If Professor, then there was a trace of surprise on Professor. There is no difference in consciousness, you will definitely notice it. This is what surprised Professor X the most. The reason why he was able to find Bai Ye's location so quickly was because Bai Ye's mental power was too conspicuous. If the mental power of an ordinary person is like a firefly, the White Knight is like a torch in the dark night. When he used his psychic ability to conduct a large-scale search of New York City, he could notice it at a glance. Bai Ye was not too surprised by what Professor, picking up a bottle of Coke from the shelf nearby and taking a sip. Bai Ye sat on the steps nearby and asked Professor X, "Why did the famous Professor X come to me this time?" "I want you to bring a child to my school," Charles said. "She has just awakened her mutant abilities. She ran away from the house because of fear. Now she is being hunted by other mutants who covet his abilities." "With a child? Mutant? Could it be a little naughty girl or a Rakshasa girl?" The plot of X-Men 1. Bai Ye thought as he said, "What does this have to do with me? Can't those X-Men under you do this? It's too late to let the X-Men pass, and this matter actually has something to do with you," Charles said with an inexplicable smile on his face. "Because that kid wants to come to you, so come to your house quickly at the door." "What's going on at my door?" Bai Ye was stunned for a moment. Why would she want to find me? I think it's probably because of your claim to be unbiased against mutants in the news, plus a little advantage in appearance. Charles said truthfully, now that child is coming to your door based on information on the internet. My remarks. Bai Ye immediately thought of what he said in the reporter's interview before, that mutants are also human beings, and co-authorship really has something to do with him. Okay, I need to reconsider your request. Bai Ye said, now you need to tell the identity of that girl and the reason why she was hunted down by mutants. No problem. The child's name is Mary. She is currently being hunted by the mutant saber-toothed tiger under Magneto. I don't know the reason for the hunt, Charles said. In fact, at first he thought that saber-toothed tiger was going to hunt down Wolverine, but he didn't expect that after the naughty boy and Wolverine separated, saber-toothed tiger's course of action actually changed, and that's when he discovered the clue. Bai Ye's eyes flashed, it's really the plot of X-Men 1. In other words, Magneto now has a machine in his hands that can transform ordinary people into mutants. According to the plot of X-Men 1, because Lao 1 was dissatisfied with mankind's attitude towards mutants, he developed a machine that can transform humans into mutants. They plan to wait until the global summit and start the machine directly to transform all the heads of state below into mutants, in order to change the situation of mutants. It turns out that this machine will extract the abilities and physical strength of mutants when it is activated, so Magneto is going to temporarily transfer his abilities to the little naughty kid who has the ability to absorb, and let her start the machine on his behalf. What's even more outrageous is that although the mutants transformed by this machine have abilities, they will die of genetic collapse before long, and the final ending of this movie is naturally a cliché story of good triumphing over evil, and Magneto's conspiracy being foiled through the efforts of the X-Men. Of course, Bai Ye is not dissatisfied with the ending of the story. What he values most now is the machine in Magneto's hand that can turn ordinary people into mutants. Thinking of this, Bai Ye immediately raised his head and said, of course there is no problem. It is our duty to save people. Where is the specific location of Mary now? Looking at Bai Ye, who suddenly became more active, Charles was stunned for a moment and didn't react. He stared blankly at Bai Ye. What are you doing standing still? Time waits for no one. You are procrastinating too much. What should I do if there is really danger? Bai Ye urged. Although I don't know why Bai Ye suddenly changed so much, it is a good thing that Bai Ye is willing to take action. Charles nodded and said, the child is now near St. Patrick's Church on 5th Avenue, and it won't take long for the saber-toothed tiger that is chasing her to find her. After you find the child, please send her to Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. Please. After finishing speaking, Smith's originally peaceful expression immediately became confused. He looked at Bai Ye in front of him doubtfully and said, Boss, what are you doing? Got off the machine. Don't worry about these details. Bai Ye stood up from the ground and said, you stay here for now. I need to go out and do some errands. I'll be back in about an hour. As soon as the words fell, Bai Ye's figure immediately disappeared from where he was. Chapter 58 Little Naughty. You are listening at NovelFlow.audio. New York, 5th Avenue, outside St. Patrick's Church, there was an endless stream of people coming to visit the church. What was different from the bustle outside was a girl wrapped tightly in a black robe, walking alone in a deserted alley, gently putting down the black cloak. The girl revealed a cute face with baby fat. She was the girl Charles asked Bai Ye to help, the little naughty Mary. It had been 15 days since she awakened her mutant abilities. She often saw mutants causing wanton chaos in the news, but she never imagined that one day she would become a mutant. Especially with her awakened mutant ability, everyone who comes into contact with her will lose power and fall to the ground in a coma. This ability is like a curse, forcing her to stay away from people to prevent hurting others. Got you. Just as the little naughty boy was busy walking, a hoarse voice came from the front of the alley. She looked up and saw a tall man, dressed as slovenly as a savage and with an extremely fierce appearance, blocking the intersection, staring at her with the eyes of a prey. Especially the 4 sharp fangs in the opponent's open mouth are like those of a big cat. Looking at the unfriendly man in front of him, the little naughty man subconsciously took 2 steps back and asked timidly, hello, what do you want to see me for? Our boss just needs care. The saber-toothed tiger looked at the little naughty boy in front of him who had no way to escape, and said in a very relaxed tone, I hope you will come with me voluntarily, otherwise you will inevitably suffer a lot. Before the saber-toothed tiger finished speaking, the little naughty boy, sensing the danger, turned around and ran away behind him like a frightened beast. Looking at the girl running hurriedly in the alley, the saber-toothed tiger chased after her with great ease. Magneto has already told him that the ability of the little girl in front of him is just the ability to absorb. As long as she is not contacted by the other party is just an ordinary girl, and there is no way to escape from his grasp. As the little naughty girl ran, she looked back at the pursuing figure behind her. The slovenly savage moved very quickly and it wouldn't take long for him to catch up with her. 10 meters, 5 meters, 3 meters. Looking at the girl so close, a fierce light flashed in the saber-toothed tiger's eyes. It was not okay to let the little girl be so noisy on the way back. It seemed that he had to teach her a lesson first. With this thought in mind, the saber-toothed tiger jumped up high, its 5 slender nails quickly lengthened, turning into sharp bone claws, and then grabbed at the Achilles tendon on the little naughty leg, but just before he was about to touch it, his beast instinct sensed the crisis first, and a terrifying sense of threat came from above at high speed. What the hell? The saber-toothed tiger subconsciously raised his head, only to see a shoe zooming in quickly in his sight, and then stepping hard on his cervical spine. The saber-toothed tiger felt like he was being run over by a large steamroller of tens of tons from behind. The terrifying pressure shattered his bones in an instant and pressed his body in mid-air to the ground. Boom! The little naughty boy who was full of escaping heard a violent explosion behind him, and then felt his feet begin to tremble obviously. Oops! The little naughty girl secretly screamed that something was wrong. The sudden sound behind her made her panic, and she made a mistake in her steps and fell to the ground. Ignoring the burning pain caused by her palms on the ground, the girl hurriedly turned back, but the scene behind her was something she would never forget. He saw the sloppy man who had been chasing him lying on the ground like a dead dog. The young man in a white shirt stepped on the man's back with his right foot like a giant pillar supporting the sky. The terrifying power even penetrated the sloppy man's body, causing the ground under his feet to create a huge pit with a radius of 1 meter. It seems the time is just right. Bai Ye looked at the little naughty boy in front of him who was staring blankly at him. He ignored the saber-toothed tiger that was covered by smoke and dust at his feet. He smiled and extended his right hand to the girl and said, Hello, let me meet you. My name is Bai Ye. I heard that you are looking for me. Is this God? The little naughty thought to himself. At this moment, the sun shines on Bai Ye's handsome cheeks, making him look like an angel from the kingdom of God. The perfect scene in front of him makes the little naughty feel dazed for a while, and he subconsciously wants to stretch out his right hand, but looking at Bai Ye's white and slender fingers in front of her, and comparing her hand with dust and blood stains at the moment, the girl originally stretched out her right hand and then retracted it. Your hand is injured. Bai Ye noticed the wound on the little naughty arm, stepped on the saber-toothed tiger's struggling head into the soil, and gently grasped the opponent's palm with his hand. Wait, you can't touch me. Seeing Bai Ye take the initiative to hold his right hand, the little naughty suddenly thought of his own ability and hurriedly stopped, but the little naughty right hand was firmly grasped by Bai Ye at this moment, and a powerful force was transmitted from the other party's body. The girl looked up anxiously at the young man in front of her, only to see him looking at her with a normal expression, as if nothing had happened. Does my ability not work on him? The little naughty thought in surprise, but feeling the power emerging from his body, he asked, Are you okay? It hurts a little, but it's within the acceptable range. Feeling the severe pain of his body being cut into pieces, Bai Ye smiled as usual, while looking at the values on his panel. Name, Bai Ye, lifespan, 18/30,000, 29,000, 28,000, 27,000, strength, 2.7 plus 0.4, 2.6 plus 0.4, physique, 2.7 plus 0.4, 2.6 plus 0.4, spirit, 2.7 plus, 2.6, charisma, 1.4 plus, attribute points to be used, 0.1. It seems that there is still a risk if it is exposed to it for a long time, but it seems that the attribute points added on the attribute panel cannot be absorbed. Looking at the decreasing values on the attribute panel, Bai Ye thought to himself, then he let go of the little naughty right hand in time and said with a smile, "Okay, your hand shouldn't hurt now." "My hand?" The little naughty boy looked down and was surprised to see that the scratch on his palm had healed, leaving only traces of blood mixed with dust, showing that the wound just appeared was not false. Glancing at the saber-toothed tiger lying like a dead dog, little naughty thanked him sincerely. Thank you for saving me. My name is Mary, you can call me Little Naughty. I came to New York this time to see you. No need to explain." Bai Ye smiled and patted the naughty boy gently on the shoulder and said, "I know more than you do, and I came here specifically to see you this time." Looking for me?" The little naughty girl looked at the idol in front of her in shock. She thought it was a fateful encounter. The passing boy met the girl who was in trouble. Unexpectedly, they were running in both directions. This was something she never dared to think about. That's right. Can you please wait for me outside the alley now? He and I have something to talk about. Bai Ye said, and as his right hand was released, Bai Ye saw that the originally dropped values on the panel began to gradually return to normal, and the originally lost strength also began to recover. Chapter 59 Conversation and Choice. You are listening at NovelFlow.audio. Bai wants to talk to this sloppy man. The little naughty boy looked down at the saber-toothed tiger at Bai Ye's feet. He was obviously so seriously injured, but this man was not dead yet. Nodding obediently, the little naughty boy walked out of the alley obediently without asking any questions and waited at the entrance of the alley. After the little naughty boy walked away, Bai Ye let go of his foot on the saber-toothed tiger's head, allowing his head to lift up from the soil again. "Boy, do you know who you have offended?" Saber-toothed tiger climbed up from the ground, and the broken bones and other wounds on his body had long since recovered. "We are from the Brotherhood of Mutants. I know I'm looking for you." Faced with saber-toothed tiger's behavior of blowing up his house like a street gangster, Bai Ye rolled his eyes. "I asked my servant to bring a message to Magneto. I know that he is working on a machine that transforms humans into mutants. But the machine he built has big flaws. Don't rush to experiment now. I want to have a good talk with him in 3 days." Seeing the saber-toothed tiger's eyes widening in disbelief, Bai Ye raised his eyebrows and said, "Do you have any problems now? If not, just go away." "How did you know our plan?" Saber-toothed tiger asked. "Only a few people including Magneto knew about the plan of his organization." "How did this guy know about it?" "You don't need to worry about this. Just convey my message to him obediently." After Bai Ye finished speaking, he turned around, ignoring the saber-toothed tiger behind him, and walked slowly out of the alley. Behind him, saber-toothed tiger, who had failed his mission, was still preparing to report the contents of this time to Magneto after hesitation. Outside the alley, the little naughty girl looked at the endless flow of people on the street, her heart pounding, and all kinds of thoughts filling her brain. Who is that sloppy man and why are you arresting me? And why does Bai Ye know that I am here and wants to come to me? And with the healing power of my palm, is Bai Ye also a mutant? All kinds of thoughts came to her, which made the girl feel a little flustered. She felt as if she was involved in the vortex of some conspiracy. But recalling that when she shook hands with Bai Ye just now, the other party transmitted a steady stream of power, and her originally ups and downs calmed down again. If it's by Bai Ye's side, there will definitely be no problem. Touching the healed palm, the little naughty thought so in his heart. "Sorry for keeping you waiting." At this time, a calm voice came from behind the girl. Bai Ye took out a mask and put it on himself, walked out of the alley, looked at the girl and said, "You must have a lot of doubts now. Don't worry, I remember there is a Burger King nearby. Let's talk as we walk." "Yes." The girl nodded heavily and followed Bai Ye towards the fast food restaurant. A few minutes later, the little naughty boy looked at the pile of food in front of him. "Aren't you going to eat?" "You can eat. It's not convenient for me to show up in public." Bai Ye tugged on his mask and said, "I just want to take advantage of this time to tell you the basic situation now. The first is your ability. It is a super ability that can absorb other people's power, vitality, and even mutant abilities through physical contact. It has great room for improvement. This is why the mutant wanted to hunt you down. Your abilities are extremely tempting to them. Bai Ye said slowly. He didn't want to tell Magneto's true purpose for the time being, after all, letting the X-Men know that there might be trouble in the future. As for me, the reason why I found you by chance is that I was entrusted by another mutant to escort you to a school where the students and teachers are all mutants. Mutant school. Is there such a place? The little naughty boy stopped eating and stared. Of course, after all, you know the current attitude towards mutants in society. In a normal school, it is not good for mutants or humans. Are you also a mutant? Little Naughty asked, looking at Bai Ye. In fact, she has always been quite inferior to her mutant identity. Ever since she awakened to this ability, nothing good has happened to her. Not currently, they can only be considered superpowers, but everyone has mutant genes in their bodies. It is not impossible to awaken the genes in their bodies and become a mutant in the future. Bai Ye pointed out. When he heard that Bai Ye was not a mutant, the little naughty man's head immediately sank and he continued to chew food silently. Now you have two choices. The first is to stay at my house for one night, and then I will send you to the Mutant Academy tomorrow morning. As for the second one, you can choose not to go to that Mutant Academy. I won't stop you whether you go home or wander. Bai Ye said slowly. At this moment, facing the choice given by Bai Ye, the little naughty thought for a long time, then slowly raised his head and said, "Can I follow you?" "Follow me." Bai Ye fell into deep thought. Bai Ye actually had no idea of subduing the girl with the ability to absorb in front of him. After all, except for the pain caused by contact, which was comparable to the feeling of an electric shock, it had no effect on his training. Bai Ye's talent one is that he has no bottleneck and can become infinitely stronger. In other words, the exercise effect of 100 tons is 10 times that of 10 tons. There is no situation that the more you practice, the slower the improvement. In this case, why should the girl absorb his power, and then reduce the power to 10 tons before undergoing 10 tons of weight training? Isn't this half the result with twice the result? If the girl's absorption ability can only absorb physical strength and has no effect on his strength, then it will have a great effect on him. After all, the effect of exercise is doubled when the physical strength is at its limit, but the girl herself can't control her abilities. Whether it's strength, physical strength or superpowers, she can absorb them with just a touch. Then it's too useless for him, and it's useless except for being pretty and an ornamental vase, but now he is not short of money. Raising a mutant is just an easy matter. What if she comes into use in the future? So facing the little naughty request, Bai Ye hesitated for a moment and then quickly smiled and said, "Of course it's no problem, but in order to prevent you from regretting it in the future, I will take you to the Mutant Academy for a look first and then make a decision." "No. I won't regret it." The little naughty boy shook his head vigorously, then realized that the intention in his words was a little too obvious, and buried his head in eating the food with a red face. After spending a calm and uneventful night, early the next morning, Bai Ye took the little naughty boy to the Vizel Academy for gifted youngsters based on the address left by Charles. Looking at the beautiful manor in front of him, even Bai Ye's eyes flashed with curiosity about this mutant academy. Chapter 60 Professor X, Stand Still. You are listening at NovelFlow.audio. Welcome to Xavier Academy for Gifted Youngsters. Wait a moment, I have asked teachers from the school to pick you up. Graymaken Road, New York, Westchester County. Just when Little Naughty and Bai Ye were standing at the entrance of the academy, a gentle voice sounded in their heads. Looking at the little naughty boy looking around, Bai Ye explained, "Don't be nervous. The person speaking is the mutant with psychic abilities that I mentioned yesterday, who is the principal of this school." Crunch. Not long after waiting, with the sound of the door being pushed open, 3 figures walked out of the college gate, 1 man and 2 women. The leader is a man with dark red glasses, followed closely by the other 2, a black woman with white hair and a woman with burgundy hair. "You are the Bai Ye, that professor." Then, the red-haired woman set her sights on the naughty boy. Seeing her cowering cautiously behind Bai Ye, he smiled softly and said, "You're Mary, right? Don't be nervous. Everyone here is of the same kind." Let me introduce myself. My name is Jean Grey. My abilities are mind control and telekinesis. The red-haired woman said, stretching out her right hand and slowly spreading it. An invisible telepathy emerged, and a coin floated in the air. Continuously doing irregular movements, this move immediately attracted the little naughty's attention, and the same unusual scene also relieved the little naughty's original wariness. Is this the Phoenix girl? Bai Ye thought to himself as he looked at the coins floating in front of him. As the host of the Phoenix power, it is still in a sealed state. If you master the Phoenix power perfectly, you can even rewrite reality. However, the universe he lives in is biased toward the movie version. It would be good if this guy could wipe out an island after being unblocked. Under the leadership of the three people, Bai Ye and Little Naughty walked towards the school. Under Bai Ye's gaze, there are children running on the water and teenagers using mutant abilities to play basketball. In Bai Ye's opinion, isn't this a detention center for abnormal humans? At this time, several young people playing basketball also noticed the people being led by the teachers. After seeing the little naughty boy, one of them shouted an invitation. Are you a new student? What is your mutant power? Come here together. Play. The little naughty girl on the side looked at the mutants using their abilities freely, with a trace of envy flashing in her eyes. The mutants had not been connected before. She was only sad that her abilities were so cumbersome, and she could not even have normal contact with others. Want to play? Just when she fell into emo, Bai Ye's voice sounded at the right time, and then the girl felt a warm palm gently touch her cheek. The next moment, huge power was continuously transmitted into Mary's body. She looked up in shock and saw that the person holding out her hand was Bai Ye, who felt that the power was almost transferred, let go, and said with a smile, you have been strengthened by me now, come on. Glancing at Bai Ye with emotion, the little naughty boy shook his head vigorously and said, I don't want to play basketball, I just want to follow you. The interaction between the two attracted the attention of these basketball teenagers. A mutant boy suddenly pointed at Bai Ye and shouted, hey, aren't you the one on TV, the Bai Ye? These words immediately stirred up waves. All the students around him dropped what they were doing and gathered around him. When they came closer, they suddenly became excited when they saw that it was actually a celebrity who had been on TV before. Excitement, love, kindness, disgust. For this superhuman who is not a mutant but has a positive attitude towards mutants, all kinds of emotions are flowing for a while. Faced with the chaotic emotions at the scene, Jean had to cooperate with her mental ability and said, quiet, this is the professor's guest, don't make any noise here. Under the power of spiritual soothing, these teenagers instantly became quiet. Jean breathed a sigh of relief and said, let's go quickly. The professor has been waiting inside for a long time. Yes. Bai Ye nodded slightly, followed them to the door of a room, opened the door gently and walked in. What he saw was a bald old man sitting in a wheelchair. We finally meet officially, Mr. Bai. Charles said with a gentle smile on his face. Well, according to your request, I sent the little naughty here safely, but now it seems that she doesn't want to stay. Bai Ye said, finding a seat to sit down like the others. It doesn't matter. We respect every mutant's choice. If she is willing to leave with you, I won't stop her. Charles didn't care, letting the little naughty person behind Bai Ye quietly breathe a sigh of relief. I actually want to ask Mr. Bai a question this time. Professor X said seriously, have your views on mutants changed after seeing the mutant school? Why should there be a change? Don't forget that mutants were humans before. One day they were humans, and they will be humans in this life. Is there any difference in their thinking between the two? Bai Ye said calmly, but these words made everyone, including Professor X and Jean, have a much better opinion of Bai Ye. They knew before that Bai Ye did not discriminate against mutants, but now they truly recognized Bai Ye, but the next moment Bai Ye's words shocked them. But, I don't agree with your approach. Bai Ye changed the subject and said, the black people during the colonial period and the Jews during the Third German period were physically more human than you, but they were still unavoidable from the fate of being persecuted and massacred. Professor.it was somewhat unnatural for a pure human being to agree with the ideas of the leader of a mutant resistance organization, but in Bai Ye's view, mutants and humans are just a struggle between intelligent beings. Both sides are the same. Is there any particularly big difference? He has fucked all the vampires. As long as he is good-looking and to his liking, he will show you the mutants too. What did you say? Bai Ye's words of support for Magneto immediately aroused Cyclops' protest. Only the professor's ideas can allow people and mutants to coexist. Magneto's behavior will only lead to the destruction of mutants. Seeing Cyclops' excitement, Bai Ye stood up helplessly and looked at Charles and said, Professor X, can you stand up for a moment? Charles in a wheelchair. Do you want to watch what you say? Okay. Bai Ye looked at everyone on the seat and said helplessly, to me, everyone here, except for Professor X, is all rubbish to me. Your so-called concept of peace is not worth mentioning to me.